I never saw opportunities the way that I saw it that day. So I was walking down the street and I stopped at the post office and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play this thing called I Spy, a government contract, you know. And so I was stopped at the post office, and in front of the post office was this beautiful landscape area. And I'm like, okay, that's a government contract. Because guess what? The workers at the post office is not landscaping that area. The city and county actually have hired a person to do the landscape, and that person had to be a small business. That's a government contract. So all of these are small business government contracts. To show y'all some money that y'all been driving by every day. All right. So I did this thing on my YouTube a while back. I think I did it like maybe during the summer. It was called I Spy, a government contract. So I was just outside because I have a 1-year-old. He's 1 now. I was just outside. I'm like, let me just take my baby for a walk. And then I just started looking around. I'm like, I never saw opportunities the way that I saw it that day. So I was walking down the street and I stopped at the post office. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play this thing called I Spy, a government contract, you know. And so I was stopped at the post office, and in front of the post office was this beautiful landscape area. And I'm like, okay, that's a government contract. Because guess what? The workers at the post office is not landscaping that area. The city and county actually have hired a person to do the landscape, and that person had to be a small business. That's a government contract, right? And then I'm walking down a little bit further. There's a bus station there. I'm looking at the bus station and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just sit here and see where the opportunities are. I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, the Department of Transportation, which has federal money, is also a part of the city and county, which owns this bus stop. But they also employed or contracted a small business entrepreneur to install this bus stop here, and they hired a advertising and marketing company to put the advertising display up on the bus stop. That's a government contract. So I'll get in my car and I'm driving down the street and I come to a stop sign and I realize a small business contractor had to install these stop signs and install the stop lights, because every city and county has contracting opportunities, and they're all obligated to obligate a certain percentage of all of that money that they're spending with small businesses. So all of these are small business government contracts, right? Small business. And so I see like some excavation happening on the street because they're breaking up the ground to relay the concrete and all these different things. I'm like, those are all small business contractors who got a contract with the city to repave the concrete. It's crazy, right? But guess what? What I saw when I looked at the workers, they're all wearing, I wish I had it here, hard hats, safety glasses, a yellow vest, and some steel-toe boots. That's called PPE gear. So for all those who have product-based businesses, you can land a government contract on that multi-million-dollar project to dig up and excavate the street and relay the concrete, just providing the supplies for safety. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to take some time to invite you to join me in the GovCon Challenge. The GovCon Challenge takes place once a month, where I invite a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to come and have me teach you the 5 things you must do to pre-qualify your business to land lucrative contracts with the government. So join me in the GovCon Challenge. Click on the link in the description. You'll be glad you did. Join as VIP for exclusive behind-the-scenes information, and you could become a part of the top 1% of entrepreneurs across the nation. Now back to the video you were watching. Are you getting where I'm going? It's all about thinking outside the box. This is money. It's crazy, right? So now somebody installed the stop signs, right? But there's also a supplier subcontracting, who had to provide the actual stop signs to the installer. It's money everywhere, right? Now I'm driving up. There's a construction site that's down down the street from my backyard where I used to live. And the PUC, the Public Utility Commission, they came into the urban community and they created this, and they installed in, what do you call those things? Where everybody toilet stuff go to. Where all the toilet water go to. I forget what it's called. One of those places, right? So they installed that in our community, right? And so, yeah, the sewer, they installed the sewer whole system, the sewer system in our community. And so what happened was, back in the day, I told you guys about Charlie Walker, who was like the first Black man in San Francisco who landed multi-millions of dollars in government contracts. So there was a whole bunch of people like him who were advocates back in the day. And they said, well, if you're going to put this in our community, then you're going to have to give us a community center, a daycare center. These are the things that they mitigated, right? They mitigated, like, so anytime a new development comes into your community, if you're not out there at the city hall conversations, the planning department advocating for what you want in return for them being in your city, then you're missing out, because there's pools of money that they have to contribute to that community when they come in there and do development and come in there and make all these changes. Pools of money, right? And so there were some women, they're called the Big Five, and they had mitigated for affordable housing and all these different things in the community because they put that sewer plant there. So anyways, 30, 40 years later, which was just like 2 years ago, 30, 40 years later, which was 2 years ago, well, most of those advocates had died off, right? So the PUC, they decided they were going to shut down the community center, the daycare center, and they wanted to move it to a better location. So all the children of those advocates, they're like, yeah, no, we ain't forgot y'all promises to us. We ain't forgot that these people have mitigated that we have these benefits. So here's what we want, how we want it, and we want a first class center with all this technology and all these different things. So anyways, it's in my backyard. Multiple $1 trillion contracting opportunity. And I'm like, well, you ain't gonna come into my backyard and you just came from New York and not give me a piece of that pie, right? So I was on that project. So, but here's the thing, when I was on the project, here's what I saw. Now they have to provide water. So for suppliers, they have to provide water to all the workers, right? So there's a contract for those who do those supplies, as well as the safety gear. They had to recycle away all the materials. So we have trucking and hauling contracts. They had to put up the fencing. So we have fencing contracting opportunities. They had to provide porta potties. So there's porta potties. They have to provide all of these trucks that does irrigation. So there's like irrigation contracts on there. There's so many different opportunities. They have to take photos. And that's how I got on the project, taking photos of the development, the before and after, and to prove that there's diversity and inclusion on this particular job. They have to be Black folks. They have to be Latinas. They had to be Asian. There had to be a mix of diversity. There had to be women, right? So how do you prove that? Well, you can only prove that by photography. So that's how I got my foot in the door, right? On the diversity and inclusion, right? And so anyways, these are all opportunities. And guess what else they have to do for those of you who are caterers who provide food products? Well, they have to have a food truck in front of it to feed the people and provide food, snacks, and all those different things. So that's a catering contract. So if you don't know how to get your foot in the door or how to identify an opportunity, just drive down your street. You're going to see things quite differently